Have you ever used a graph paper that has vertical and horizontal lines crossing each other and forming group of little squares? I'm sure you do. Graphs made it much easier to plot the points, join lines, draw curves, and solve mathematical problems. Well, the grids are acting in a very similar way. Keep watching this video till the end to learn more about grids and how to use them. What are grids? It is a series of horizontal and perpendicular lines that forms a skeleton layout upon which you can place text, images, and other objects in Adobe InDesign. Effective grids organize and align the components, providing consistency and cohesiveness to the layout. Grids are invisible in print, unless the designer wants to do so. Just like tables in spreadsheets, rows are series of cells aligned horizontally, and columns are series of cells aligned vertically. The space between two columns and two rows is called gutter or alley. Gutter or alley is used to add space between the objects so that there is a room for them to breathe. White spaces are mainly used in these gutters or alleys. A single cell united by rows and columns is called module. Grid also consists of negative spaces between the edge of the page and outer edge of the content. That is called margins. If you want to learn more about margins, I have included the link in the card on top of this video. Why designers use grids? Every designer will have their own reasons for why grids are important to them. To keep it short, grids make it easier for designers to plan which objects need to be placed on which area of the page. Number 1. It simplifies the complicated designs to make it readable for others. Without grids, we, the designers, need to constantly struggle about positioning the elements on page, which takes a lot of time. Look at this blank piece of page. I need to input all this data into this blank page. So, I need to think carefully where to place the first content, where to place the typography, how to even get started. Well, with grids, we can easily compose the page layout just by doing some few clicks, which saves our time. Therefore, grids speed up the design process. Now see, this is the design with grids, which looks very neat and balanced. And this is the design without grids, which looks very cluttered and imbalanced. Number 2. It is transferable from page to page. When we don't create any grid, we need to manually create the columns from text to look like grids. However, when we add a new page, again we need to manually create these columns. Obviously, we don't want to waste our time on things that can be done automatically. You heard me right. When we create any document, we can assign all the values in the beginning that includes columns and even the size of the gutters. So, we can simply click on these columns, all the text will be placed inside these columns, and if there's a lot of text, we can simply add a new page. And look, that these columns have been transferred to the next page without altering any settings inside the document. Number 3. designers can collaborate with each other easily. While creating newspapers, magazines, and catalogs, the company provides all the images, text, and other data to designers. And it is designers' job to get it done nicely on time. So, instead of panicking about placing the objects on right point of the page, designers use the saved layouts and place the objects on right places in no time. If any changes are needed, instead of discussing about column size, page size, gutter size, designers can discuss with each other whether to change the font size, font style, and font colors of the text. Number 4. Grids bring consistency to design world. Grids are not just used in printing newspapers, magazines, and brochures. In fact, grids are widely used in digital and web design. I am sure web designers are familiar with the term landing pages. You got me right. Web designers use grids to separate each element from each other and transfer the same layout to other landing pages using grids, thus providing consistency to design. Let me give you one example. This is the layout of my website that I designed for myself using grids in Adobe Illustrator and export it as PSD file. This is my home page, the first landing page. So, when I will click on Services, the next landing page should have the same layout with every element lying on the same place. My logo should not move any pixels up, down, left, right, or these testimonials should not lie above the black bars. In a nutshell, grids control all the elements to stick to same place. Let's select this services layer. Let me zoom in for you for your better experience. Now see, services lie on this area of this landing page. Right-click on the services layer and choose Copy CSS. Now, what does CSS do? It compiles all the data of the layer, including X and Y coordinates of the layer, width and height, font color, font size, font style, and so on. Now, I have opened Notepad and I have pasted CSS of services layers over here. Now, look at these beautiful lines. Web developers usually input this CSS into Adobe Dreamweaver so that the HTML or XML output screen displays services button lying on the same place of each landing page. Number 5. Responsive design. So, 90s kids, here's a question for you. Do you remember those days when desktop version and mobile version weren't a thing? That's right. As internet evolved in 90s, many people started using mobile phones to access websites such as Google, Facebook, MySpace, etc. But the text and other graphic elements were not flexible enough to fit on mobile phone screens. That's where smartphones were introduced, along with the apps to improve user experience that supports multiple columns to condense into single column. This is called user experience or UX design, where the design is responsive to users' interaction with computers. In short, UX design simplifies the complex designs. Types of grids. There are two types of grids in Adobe InDesign. First one is baseline grids, and the other one is document grids. Let's first start with baseline grids. What are baseline grids? Baseline grids resemble ruled notebook papers just like the one we used in our school days for writing in English, Sindhi, and Urdu, and many other languages. For better understanding of baseline grids, let me give you one example. How to set up baseline grids. I have opened a blank document of 12-inch times 16-inch width and height. You can see there are no grids present on this page. To bring on the baseline grids, go to View, Grids and Guides, and click Show Baseline Grids. Shortcut key is Ctrl Alt apostrophe. To hide the baseline grids, go back to View, Grids and Guides, and click Hide Baseline Grids. Or use the same shortcut key Ctrl Alt apostrophe. Now see, nothing has been displayed on the page. Now look here. This is the current zoom level of pasteboard. Let's zoom in to 75%. As you can see, the blue color baseline grids have appeared on the page. However, if I zoom out to 50%, the baseline grids are gone. This is because baseline grids are set to some threshold. Let me explain you. Go to Edit, Preferences, Grids. In this dialog box, you can see there are two types of grids. We are going to focus on baseline grids for now. Look at the last option, Threshold, that is set to 75%. So, if your zoom level lies below 75%, the baseline grids won't be visible at all. Let's change it to 50% and click OK. See, baseline grids are back as the current zoom level is 50%. So, I zoom in to 75%, baseline grids are still there. Now, let's set the zoom level to 25%. Baseline grids are gone. If you want baseline grids to be visible on this level, you can do this by simply going to Edit, Preferences, Grids, and change the threshold to 25%. Or maybe let's try the minimum value, that is 5%. Note, if you try to write 0 over here, InDesign will ask you to keep the values between 5% and 4000%. This means it shouldn't go below 5% and beyond 4000%. Set it to 5%, click OK. Now zoom out to 5%. Baseline grids is still visible. And zoom in 25%. That's great. Baseline grids can be customized very easily. All you have to do is go to Edit, Preferences, Grids. Now, look at this first option, Color. This is the color of baseline grids, which is the default color, blue. If you want different color for baseline grids, you can click over here and choose any color of your choice. For example, let's choose Brick Red. Click OK. Now zoom in and see these baseline grids are in brick red color. If you want to change the color back to blue color, simply undo this by pressing Ctrl Z. Now, look at the second option. The default value is 0.5 inch. It is always an inch. So, let's say you want 720 pixels over here, which is the HD resolution of videos. Press enter. See, The value has changed into inches. 720 pixels is equal to 10 inches. Let's assign 1 inch over here and click OK. Notice that these baseline grids went down on the page. Now, draw the square over here from the edge of the page towards the first baseline grid. Look at the control panel. The height is 1 inch. It explains everything that the second option from Preferences decides the distance of the first baseline grid from the edge of the page. Now, let's go back and set the start to 2 inches. Click OK. And see, the baseline is starting after 2 inches from the top of this page. Now, look at the third option. You can see that it is a drop-down menu. Here, you have two options: top of the page and top margin. So, if I set it to top of page, the baseline will start from the top of the page. For your better experience, let me write 0 inch on the start and click OK. Now, zoom in 300% and see that the first baseline grid is starting from 0 inch from the top of this page. Now, go back to Preferences Grids. Now choose Relative to Top Margin and click OK. You see, nothing happened. It's because I haven't assigned any margins on this document. To add margins, let's go to File, Document Setup, and on this margin section, set the margins to 0.5 inch. Make sure this chain is enabled. Otherwise, margins will have 4 different values. Margins are one of the important tools in Adobe InDesign. Without bleed, slugs, and margins, your design is incomplete. I would recommend you to use margins in your design projects. To know more about margins, click on the card on top of this video. Click OK. Now see, the baseline grids have been cropped from all sides with 0.5 inch distance from the top of the page. If you cannot see the margins, go to View, Grids and Guides, and click on Show Guides. Shortcut key is Ctrl::. This magenta boundary is margin. Go back to Preferences, Grids, and set the relative to top of the page. Click OK. Now see the difference. This is before with relative to top margins, and this is after with relative to top of page. Let's undo this. Ctrl-Z and hide the margins. Ctrl::. This looks so perfect. Now look at the fourth option. Increment every. This decides the spacing between the grid lines. Currently, it is set to 12 points. Let's set it to 20 points. Click OK. Now see, the spacing between the baseline grids has increased from 12 points to 20 points. Let's zoom in 300%. Draw a square over here. Change the unit of left ruler to points. And see that the height of this square is 20 points. So does the spacing between these baseline grids. If you are interested to learn some great tips and tricks about using rulers in Adobe InDesign, click on the card on top of this video. Overall, all these options under Baseline Grid section decides the outcome of baseline grids in your project as per requirement. What makes a good baseline grid? Now, we have reached the main part. As I have mentioned before, that baseline grids are used to align the text and other elements at a regular typographic interval. However, for that, we need to know what is the leading of the body text. The reason is, the space between the grid lines should be same as the leading of the text. Let me explain you. Here's an example of newspaper page I designed in Adobe InDesign. Now notice, I have used margin of 0.25 inches, which is nice. I have used 6 columns with gutters of 0.25 inches, which is still good. But I haven't used the baseline grids. For example, let's bring this tagline upwards and stretch the body text frame up until here. Now see, the text in all these frames is badly aligned, even though I had set the leading value to 14 points. This is where we need the baseline grids. First of all, let's turn off the visibility of text frames. To do that, go to View, Extras, Hide Frame Edges, Control H. Now, let's hide the margins as well. Go to View, Grids and Guides, Hide Guides. Shortcut key is Control semicolon. Now, open the paragraph styles. If you cannot see paragraph styles panel on your screen, go to Window, Styles, Paragraph Styles. Shortcut key is F11. As you can see, I have set all these paragraph styles over here. I'm going to double click on body text paragraph style. Now, in this dialog box, look at the left side. Choose Basic Character Formats. It contains font style, font size, and so on. We should always know what is leading size of the body text before we decide the spacing of baseline grids. In this case, the leading is 14 points. Okay, now close this. Go to Edit, Preferences, Grids. Leave the color to light blue. Choose Start at 0 inch, Relative to top of page, and increment every right here 14 points, which is the leading of the body text. Click OK. See, nothing has happened. We need to turn on the visibility of baseline grids. Go to View, Grids and Guides, Show Baseline Grids. Shortcut key is Control Alt apostrophe. Also, make sure Snap to Document Grids is turned on. Go to View, Grids and Guides, Snap to Document Grids. Shortcut key is Control Shift apostrophe. Now see, all the text looks clustered and imbalanced. To balance this out, go to Paragraph Styles, double click on Body Text, go to Indents and Spacing. Right at the bottom, you can see Align to Grid, which is set to None. Open the drop-down menu and choose All Lines. Click OK. All this text is aligned properly. If you want to do same for title and taglines, double-click on their paragraph styles and do the same method. Now, this whole layout looks stunning and attractive. What are document grids? Document grids resemble ruled graph paper just like the one we have used in our school days for drawing graphs, curves, and writing numbers in each block. In short, document grids are used to provide vertical and horizontal guidelines without having to build individual guides. For better understanding of document grids, let me give you one example. How to set up document grids. I have opened a blank document of 12-inch times 16-inch width and height. You can see there are no grids present on this page. To bring on the document grids, go to View, Grids and Guides, and click Show Document Grids. Shortcut key is Ctrl''. To hide the document grids, go back to View, Grids and Guides, and click Hide Document Grids. Or use the same shortcut key Ctrl''. Bring back the document grids by pressing Ctrl'' again. Now see, this gray lines graph has appeared on your screen. This is the document grid. If you don't like them to be bright gray color, you can change the color by going to Edit, Preferences, Grids. Now, go to Document Grid section and change the color of these grids. Let's take the darker color, purple, which is my favorite color. Click OK. Now this looks better to my eyes. You are free to choose whichever color you want. Before we move forward, make sure Snap to Document Grids is turned on. Otherwise, the objects won't snap accurately to the grids. To make sure, go to View, Grids and Guides, and check Snap to Document Grids. The reason is, if you draw any object on your screen, let's suppose this is square. And when I move this square anywhere, and see how easily it snaps to the grids without doing any hard work. After all this, if your snapping is still not working, then I would suggest you to use Snap to Zones. I have made separate tutorial on Snap to Zones. I have placed the link on top of this video. Now, go back to Grids, check the two sections under Document Grids, horizontal and vertical. Each one has 8 subdivisions and length of 1 inch. Let me explain you. First, uncheck these grids in back. This way, your grids will not go back on any object you draw on the page. Close this dialog box. Let me draw the black rectangle covering up the whole page. Zoom in 300%. Draw the square on one of these cells. Now see that one cell of this grid consists of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares, which is 8 subdivisions in x-axis. Same goes for y-axis with 8 subdivisions. Width and height of this cell is 1 inch. Go back to grids and let's change the value for vertical and horizontal to 2 inches and increase the subdivisions to 10. Click OK. Now draw the square. See that one cell has now 10 subdivisions and width and height is 2 inches. You can keep different values for horizontal and vertical as well as subdivisions. It's all up to you. In spite of that, I would recommend you to use 1 inch size with 10 subdivisions for both horizontal and vertical document grids. Note, subdivisions cannot be lesser than 1 and cannot be greater than 1000. What makes a good document grid? Grids are best way of controlling how the content flows consistently throughout the spread. However, a good document grid should have good hierarchy of text and images so that the readers get the message that you are trying to get across. Here is an example of a blank page with document grids that I designed in Adobe InDesign. So, Instead of relying on creating individual guides, I can simply draw the rectangles for headings, subheadings, body text, and images. As you can see, I am drawing the rectangle for the heading. And with the help of the grids, I can accurately draw rectangles with right measurements. Check the x and y coordinates and width and height of this rectangle in the control panel. I did not need to do much hard work to get them aligned properly. Now, let's draw the rectangle for subheadings. Let's say 2.inch width and 1.75-inch height. Alright, good. Now, I want to add image on the middle of this page. So, I will skip 2 subdivisions and start the rectangle over here. Now, I want to create the column next to the image, and it should be the same size as the width of the subheading. Now see, image and columns are overlapping. So I will reduce the image size 2 subdivisions backwards. Now, let's stretch the column till the edge of the margins of 1 inch. Now, I want to create the first column on left side below the subheading. I must skip 2 subdivisions and make a copy of this rectangle holding the Alt key. Let's stretch it close to the margins. Let's make copies of these columns skipping 2 subdivisions. Notice that the third column isn't fixing in this design. Let's fix this design. Now, let me bring them back inside the margins. Notice that the spacing between these columns is still 2 subdivisions. Now, let's import the image into the rectangle. Now, by using the text tool, shortcut key is T. Let's write the caption to this image. I have already made the paragraph styles for this content, so I am adding caption style to this picture caption. Now, I will do same with headings, subheadings, and even the body text. I will explain paragraph styles in my future tutorial. I will place the link in this video once it is uploaded to my channel. Wow, it looks like a great article for the magazine or a blog for the website. Tip number 1. Grids will follow every spread, so you don't need to apply it on master pages. However, if you had designed grids using multiple guides to follow multiple pages in Adobe InDesign, then I highly recommend you to create multiple guides on your master pages. Then, apply the master pages to whole document. This method gives more variation to the design as it only displays the rows, columns, cells, and gutters rather than every little subdivision. To learn more about using multiple guides on multiple pages, I have placed the link of tutorial on the card above this video. Tip number 2. Don't be afraid to break the grid if needed. Keep in mind, grids are supposed to be guides to make perfect layouts. However, they are not the core foundation of any design. Breaking the grids introduces creativity, contrast, and dynamism into your design. Think of a magazine article with slightly tilted title in bright orange fonts and it crosses the grid lines. Human eyes always scan unusual things, which is the title in this case. The large and tilted font grab the viewer's attention the most, as opposed to seeing all other elements together as a whole. I hope this tutorial gave you useful information regarding grids in Adobe InDesign and you will be ready for your next project. Please subscribe to my channel, like this video and hit the bell icon so that you don't miss any of my new tutorials. If you have any question, please leave them in the comments. I would be glad to reply you. See you in the next tutorial. Goodbye.